Okay, guys, here we go. Episode 15 of the Dirty Right Rear podcast. Myself, Jeremy Booyer, Jeremy Sutton, and this week we got Kasey Burch on the show.
Good to be here. This place is cool. Y'all see it. I love it. Hey, let me move in here one time.
So if you get kicked out of your house,
just that chair right there.
a little closer. Yeah, if you get kicked out, we know where you're moving to, right?
I'm coming right here, man.
Kasey, you're the 4-time defending track champion. Is that right?
Yeah, 4-time.
Man.
4 years in a row.
How's that make you feel?
Old. It puts years on your body. I ain't kidding.
But man, I don't know. Has everybody ever won 4 in a row out there?
Yeah, there's been a few guys. Tubby, I think Tubby won 9.
Did he really?
9 straight.
Okay.
Yeah, ain't nobody breaking that.
You're not going to go for that?
I don't know. I'm pushing 40 now.
Man,
my back hurts and stuff. I don't know.
Dude, we're all getting old.
We're getting old, man. It happens to the best of us.
I remember still, we'll touch on your family history here in just a little bit, but I remember young Kasey, high school Kasey, driving a modified, and here now you're pushing 40.
Gosh, yeah.
Gosh, I'm old now.
It goes by quick, brother. I ain't kidding. It goes by fast.
So the Birch name is one that's been around for as long as racing's been around this area. So tell us about the Birch family name and how they've been involved in racing.
Well, I started in 1956. My great-grandpa built the race car, and back then you had to build your own cars, and there wasn't a catalog to look out, in and pick out something ordered. You had to hand build it. You had to be pretty crafty. And it started in 56, and it just snowballed from there. And he won a few championships and several, over 100 features. And I wish I would have been around back in those days to see all that. I mean, that's just cool stuff, man. And I'm trying so hard to keep my grandpa's legacy going. Not just my grandpa, my great grandpa, and honestly, that's how my grandpa met my grandma, was through my great grandpa, because it was his daughter. It wasn't his dad. It was his father-in-law that built the race cars. And honestly, if it wasn't for racing, my family wouldn't even exist. It's crazy to say that, but it's true. And it was good times back then.
Yeah. So your grandpa was Gene Birch.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, Gene Birch. Raced many years, and then I know your Uncle Tom raced. Did your dad ever race?
Yeah, he did. He raced. He was more into the stock car thing. Okay. He ran a sprint car a couple times, and I think my dad was 16 or 17 when he drove a sprint car, and they were just kids, back then. And my uncle raced sprints for many years, and he actually won a championship in '88.
Yeah.
And just like I said, cool times to be around racing, man.
Then your cousin Keith was a multi-time feature winner at Farmington, and
that's the one I couldn't remember his freaking name, and I was going to bring it up. I was like, man, I remember the one Birch that ran the whole time when I used to go there, and I said, I can't remember his name, so I wasn't even going to mention it until
I really hate that he got out when he did, because he was coming into his own.
He
was getting. I mean, Keith was always fast.
He was always fast,
but man, he was starting to click it off. It was starting to really. He was a threat every night.
Yeah, he was, and I think they quit in 2010. I think he won that year. They had the Queen's Royal. He won the Dash, and there was some big names like Ian Madsen came here, and Greg Wilson. I mean, there was some bigger guys came here, and Keith was. I think that night he broke the track record and all kinds of things, and won the Dash and was starting on the pole of feature, and I think he ended up fourth. That year, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I remember that was his. Was that the JEI?
That was the JEI.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And I was mad at Keith when he sold that car, because I'm like, dude, you just run with some of the best guys in the country. Yeah. Granted, it was your own track, but you're coming into your own and you're getting out. Oh, I was so aggravated, but I understood.
Yeah,
but.
No, we all was. I think his name was Evan Pardo from Texas. Come up and bought that car, and I told my uncle, I was like, you're going to regret selling this car. And it was tough to see that car go. And he, not only did that guy buy that JEI car, he ended up buying one of the Eagle cars in the back of the garage. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Selling your stuff like this for?
What did he really get out for?
I don't know. Honestly,
I didn't think. I've never really heard or anything. And like Sutton said, he was like, everyone that gets in the sprint car game, you don't jump into sprint cars and start winning. Right. So everybody's got to realize that. And you have your I'm getting into this, then you have I'm getting fast, then you have I'm gonna wreck a lot this year, and then you have your it's time. Yeah. And it was he was getting there. He was there it's his time, and then it was like gone.
And they was done for a minute.
The thing with Keith that I remember he was so fast for so many years. He was so close, but it was like he would let guys get in his head. But he had got over that, and he was dishing it back.
Yeah.
And it made a huge difference, I felt like.
It did. He did. He got so fast right there at the end. And they set out for a minute. They got back in it. And he drove for Scott Smith. I think he ended up winning a feature and won a Scott Smith.
He did.
Car.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you can't just jump into somebody's stuff that you've never drove before and win unless you're just that good.
And I think it was the second night in the car. It was pretty fast.
It wasn't in there but a minute.
And that wasn't a fantastic car by no means.
No. It was just an average car, and he was just that good. And you look at Keith, it was kind of like looking at somebody like Doug Wolfgang or Rich Vogler, just kind of, not saying like nerdy or like.
They don't look like race car drivers.
Yeah.
Right. And, but he could will a race car.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of my family heritage. I really am. And
yeah, I've been lucky enough to hang around the Birches for, 20 years.
Been a minute,
little bit here and now.
Well, if you went to the races, you kind of had to.
Well,
you were there.
I hung around with the Bowen family, and they were supporters of Keith and and Kasey, and so I was kind of around it a little bit more. But Chasten's our next guest, so we don't have to worry about. We can keep him waiting all night.
He's a good dude. That whole family's, they're good people, man. They really are.
They really are.
Yeah. And it's good to have positive people around you at the racetrack. And they don't ever talk bad, and they don't talk bad about nobody. They don't cuss, and everything's positive. And they park next to us. I'm like, you need that every night, because you can go out there at a racetrack and you can get down on yourself pretty quick.
Right.
But the positive people you got around you, it keeps you lifted up and going.
So who do you have that helps you? I know your dad, your Uncle Tommy.
Yeah, my nephew, Keegan, I got a buddy named Tristan. They work really hard on that car. They really do. And it's not just at the racetrack. We work hard in the garage even all week. And I'm very thankful for my dad and Uncle Tom. A lot of people don't realize my uncle is a professional sprint car mechanic.
Yeah.
That guy can work and do anything on not just a race car, but sprint cars. I'm very, very grateful to have him working on my car.
He taught me a lot when I was 21, 22. He taught me a lot of working on a sprint car.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the most fondest memories I have was back when Keith had the white and orange tribal flame car. We went to Jacksonville or Benton, I don't remember, and destroyed a car on Friday night.
Yeah.
Come home on Saturday morning and completely disassembled that car and put another car together.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I'd ever been around anything like that.
Yeah.
And I remember Keith went out and set fast time that night, I think, and then blew up. We ended up not realizing that the motor was cracked or something. I don't remember. And ended up blowing up in the heat race, which sucked. But Tom's taught me a lot over the years as well.
Yeah. My uncle went and got a motor from Wayne Johnson. I think it was up in Iowa. And the thing was blown up, and they knew it and still sold it to my uncle. And
dirty Wayne. Dirty Wayne.
Yeah, man. Keith,
I could have told you that.
And he was so fast with that engine. And then, like the heat race, it blew up. And Tom just spent a fortune on this engine. And I don't remember if it was that night, but he came home, took that car home, changed the engines out of that car, and went back. I want to say it was that night. And I think Keith, he ran really good, whatever it was, and not just my uncle. I'm so thankful for my dad. He has been with me since I was 8 years old and got me started in all this. And if it wasn't for him, there's no way I could do what I do today. And he doesn't want any credit. He doesn't really. He doesn't. I'm just thankful for him. I love him with all my heart. I really do, and I couldn't do it without him. There's no way.
What did he get you started in racing in?
I started racing go-karts. I think it was 94. And honestly, I wasn't even old enough to race yet. And
my wife's told me this story.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
Because it was at Doe Run.
It was at Doe Run.
Yeah.
And Bob Johnson had the track.
Yeah.
And I was 7, and you had to – no. I was 8. You had to be 9. Well, they just opened this racetrack up. Of course, everybody that loves racing and had kids and was wanting to get things going was like, oh, my gosh, we finally got a track to take these kids to race. And – we go out there. First, my brother Kenny started racing, and I don't know what happened with that deal, but my dad took him out of that and put me in, and I wasn't even old enough. And we go out there, and they're like, oh, we need to see his birth certificate. And my dad's like, oh, we left it at home. We'll bring it next week. And this went on for a minute, and they were like, okay, something's going on. And I think my dad just – we didn't have much money. My dad had this camper, and we loved it. We went camping every weekend. And we used to camp in tents and things. It was miserable. But we finally got this camper. But it was either a brand new go-kart motor or the camper. Well, the camper went down the road, and my dad, he bought this Turk engine and put it on the go-kart. We went out there, and I think I passed everybody twice in hot laps. Well, I was sitting there, and I was like, man, that was fast. And this is what we didn't have. I don't think we had cages or anything on the go-karts then. Yeah. And I was like, man, that was fast. Well, all of a sudden, here come Bob Johnson, come up there and goes, hey, you guys are going to have to go because you don't have your birth certificate. Well, yeah, because I wasn't old enough, man. That hurt as a kid. Yeah. That really did. But that's how far my dad took it just to get me racing.
Right.
And I'm very, very thankful for that. I really am.
Now, when is your birthday? What month?
October.
Okay. Because I remember by the time they actually kicked you out, it was not too far away from your birthday.
Yeah,
I remember my wife telling me that.
Yeah, it was at the end of the year.
Yeah,
and they wasn't gonna give us another minute. Or another week. They weren't gonna do it. And that was tough to go through. But
she's told me that story before.
Yeah, it's funny, but at the same time, but that's how serious my dad was about getting me racing. So. It was cool.
Yeah. It just shows the passion that you guys had at an early age. And I'm sure the beginning of next year, you was right back out there with a birth certificate ready to race.
Yeah, we had the birth certificate that year. The next year we did.
So after your go-karts, what'd you go into after that?
Well, we really didn't have the money to go to a mini sprint, and I wanted one of those so bad. I did. And like guys that I grew up racing with, like Joey Boyd and Tommy Boyd and Kent Buckley and Matt Dotson, that's what they all went to.
Right.
Well, I was kind of getting too old for the go-karts, so I had to sit out. And my dad, my grandma gave my dad the money to go buy me a motorcycle to race. And I've never done that shit before. And we go to Donaldson's to get this hopped up 125 that's built for racing. And I look at that. I was just a kid. I was like 7th, 8th grade. And I was a little bitty guy. And I'm like, I can't even touch the ground on this thing. Well, my dad got on it and he rode it down the road at Donaldson's and come back. And he's like, no, this is too much. And but once I got on it and got going, I was able to stay up on it. But man, if I come to a stop, it wasn't good, man. But we started racing motocross, and it didn't take me no time. I actually won a main down at Benton one night, and that was pretty cool. I mean, jumping doubles and triples and all that. I tell you, if you've never done that before, and then you go to do it, that's some scary shit, man. That's scary shit.
Yeah. And then from there, did you go to a modified?
Yeah. We actually ended up getting Colin's uncle's car.
Okay.
And it was that red number 5 car. And I think I might have been 15, maybe just turned 16. I think I was 15. And we go down to Alan Palmer's shop on 32, and there's that car. And I'm like, man, this is legit. This is a real race car, and they started it up, and even though it was just like a 350, 355, whatever it was, man, that thing sounded good. And I was like, man, I don't know if I'm ready for this. And I talked a bunch of shit talking about how I'm ready for all this. I let my big mouth go override it this time, and it was cool. And we ended up bringing that thing home and taking it to the races, and I was hooked. Yeah. I love that stuff so much.
Then you run modifieds for several years, what, 4 or 5?
Yeah, I think I started in 2004, and I raced till 2000. I want to say 9.
And then is that when you hopped in a sprint car?
Yeah, my uncle, he had 2 cars, and we were having modified engine troubles and things. And
I'll backtrack here. I remember your modified engine troubles. I remember a time, was you leading points in modified, and you guys pulled a stock engine out of one of the plumbing pickup trucks, didn't you?
No, that engine we had, we actually I ended up getting 2 different modifieds. I got one from Eric Mayberry, and we sold the one that we got from Palmer. And we just took the engine out of it and put it in that. But no, that I remember people talking about that. Yeah. No, that never happened.
Oh, it did? Okay.
No, it never happened.
Okay. Well, hey, made for a good.
It did though.
Yeah, made for a good story. Yeah, that's the story I was.
Sutton's
told.
telling stories.
Yeah, I wish I could say it was true. No, it wasn't.
Hey, yeah, that's all right. So go ahead and tell us about your sprint car. How you started on that?
Yeah,
he told me it was actually you guys drove the plumbing truck and all kinds of stuff.
No.
Where's Willow when we need her?
Yeah.
Yeah, the modified days were cool. They were, and I was pretty young. I think I was in 9th grade maybe. I didn't have a driver's license when I started driving modifieds.
Really?
I didn't. No, I didn't get my license till I was, I want to say almost 18.
Oh, really?
Like wow. Something crazy like that. But no, I was racing full size stock cars, and I didn't have a driver's license. I was just a young kid, and those times I didn't know what to expect. So everything was. It was awesome. It was like it was exciting, and everything was like it was just a new adventure. You know, it wasn't a go-kart or a motorcycle. This is like a stock car at a track you grew up at, and I loved it. I loved it.
And I remember you run, especially for you as one you didn't have the best equipment. You run really well.
Yeah. No, we didn't. We've always had even in the sprint car stuff. We've always had just average equipment, and we just make the best out of what we have. And like I said, I got my dad and uncle working on things, and they know what they're doing. And we've always just had that going for us.
For those that don't know his Uncle Tom, I'm pretty sure you could eat your dinner off his garage floor.
Oh my gosh,
it's
yes.
that. So I know all of his cars he works on are that clean as well.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
I remember one time, and somebody might even been Chasten. We was over there at the shop working on something on Keith's car, and he had the Three Stooges in the bathroom. And somebody switched one of them, like moved them, and Tom noticed it as soon as he went to the bathroom.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I don't remember. Do you remember that, Chasten? I don't remember. Somebody went in there and come out like, let's see how long it takes him to notice I just moved Larry and Curly. He noticed it right away.
Oh, he probably did. No, that guy loves the Three Stooges.
Yeah.
He has watched that. There's nobody on this planet has watched more episodes of Three Stooges than my Uncle Tom. I kid you not. And his garage floor, you can eat off of it. Yeah. If you get a drop of oil, there's brake clean and a rag. You better clean that shit up.
Better, right?
He don't talk bad, but he means it. You better clean it up.
He talks it in his own way.
Yeah, in his own way. Yeah, and he's a big church guy, and he of course we all believe in God and things, and he just he lives his life how you're supposed to, And
Tom's a heck of a dude.
Oh yeah, good guy.
Let's go. I got off track there. Let's go ahead and talk about your beginning days in the sprint car.
Yeah, we went from the modifieds, and I, honestly, when I got in the sprint car, I didn't know what to expect. I really didn't, and I ran a couple times in my uncle's backup car. It was actually Keith's backup car, and I missed the modified stuff. I really did, and I wasn't really ready to quit that yet. And because modifieds, you can go anywhere in a modified, all over the country, any racetrack you want to go to runs modifieds, and sprint cars you couldn't. So I really wasn't wanting to make that next step yet because I wasn't done traveling around. And we even went to DuQuoin and ran the mile when I was 17. I tell you guys, that is legit awesome.
That had to be scary.
Oh, dude, I went over there when I was 17.
Yeah, no.
And I've been going over there since I was a kid. My whole family's went over there since I think the 50s and 60s. They started, and so back then when they ran them silver car cars, they didn't have cages and nothing. They didn't have seatbelts. And y'all, you're talking wrecks. They kill you. They kill you dead. Yeah. And crazy stuff. And then I think 2005, my second year in modified, my dad goes, "You want a feature this year? We'll go to DuQuoin." Well, the second night of the season, I want a feature. And I was like, "Hey, now we get to go to DuQuoin." "Oh, no, you got to win 2. "Well, the next week we want another one." And then he's like, "No, you got to win 3, and then we'll go." And so it took me, I don't know, probably 5-6 weeks, whatever it was. We want another one. He goes, "Okay, we'll go to DuQuoin." And we went over there, and right before we went, we was pulling out a driveway, and my uncle, he actually come up to the truck, and I rolled my window down. I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "You're getting ready to do something that nobody else has ever got to do in our family." And that hit me hard. I was like, man, this is serious. Because everybody in my family's went over to this racetrack. It's only once a year. It's what makes it so special. And none of my family's ever been around that racetrack. And I was the first one to get to go do it. And we went over there, and we pull across the back straightaway to the infield. and you look down you look, and it's just forever. And I'm like, I was like, oh my God, this is it. I'm finally here. And we get over there, and they got that big, beautiful lake in the infield. And right across from me is all them beautiful Silver Crown cars. There's JJ Yaley and Dave Darlin. I'm like, man, this is serious stuff now. And then I'm kind of sinking it all in. And anyway, it's time to go out for hot laps. And I was like, all right, here we go. Got in the car, started up, and we went down that pit road they got. And I think I was in the second or third session, but this guy that was out there, his name's Jeff Parks, I want to say. He won like 3 years prior in a row, going into that year. And I'm sitting there on the pit road in the guardrail. I'm just right there on the straightaway. And I'm sitting there and the car's running. And all of a sudden I see the flagman, and he's all the way at the end of the turn, going into turn one. And I see him waving the green. And it took a minute for a car to come by, and it was that Jeff Park. And man, that car went whoom, down through there, and I swore on my soul, my car went whoom, and I went, uh-oh, what have I finally done? I finally did it this time. I got my big mouth into some trouble. But they called my session out. I'm like, I'm pulling off track. I'm gonna go down the back straightaway. I'm gonna say there's something wrong with this car. I've never told anybody this, and I was gonna say it was overheating or there's something wrong with the train. I was gonna make up something because I'm not saying I got scared, but I'm like, this will kill you over here. This will kill you dead. And anyway, going down the back straightaway, still haven't waved the green yet, and there's the gate. And I'm good. No, I'm gonna stay out. And I was like, yep, you done it that time. Anyway, they threw the green.
And you got to go now.
And it was, you had to go. Because there's somebody behind you going to be doing about 100 mile an hour in about 5 seconds, and I took to it like second nature, man. It just came to me so easy. And then long straightaways, they went by quick. He was from here to there a lot faster than you thought. And steering was just a little slower, but we went over there, I think maybe 5 times. And I ran 10th one year from 24th. And as soon as I crossed the finish line, it was in 2005. As soon as I crossed the finish line, my right rear tire just disintegrated, and I burned it plumb off. But I went from 24th to 10th, and only one car dropped out in front of me. I mean, I passed that many cars, but when I crossed the finish line, just boom, and I'm doing over 100 mile an hour, and there's the wall, and I'm like, oh no, what do you do? And I remember the car just slid all the way up to the wall, and it never touched it. But my dad and everybody else are standing at the trailer a quarter mile away from me. They didn't see this. Oh. And I pull in, and I'm white as a ghost. And a guy that was hanging around at the time, he goes, man, you did good. You did great. And I was like, you don't know what just happened, man. It took my soul out. It was crazy stuff, man. But the sprint car stuff, I wasn't really ready to get into it yet because I was still racing modifieds. But once we got going in that, I was done with the modifieds. I was ready. I was hooked on that and the speed and just how fast it was. It was very thrilling and exciting. It was.
What's been your most memorable moment in a sprint car?
Well, if you really want me to be honest,
let's hear it.
2023's Queens Royal.
Okay, yeah, all right. Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that. Yeah, it was a good night. It was a really good night. And
I'm not gonna lie. Going in that night, I thought, Kasey has no shot.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I'm like, nothing against you.
No.
Just tough.
There was a lot of tough guys there. Yes.
And, first night, heavy as all get out.
Yeah.
And I want to say you finished 7th, 8th, something like that.
Yeah, 7th.
And I'm like, that's no disrespect, but that's about, in my eyes, where you belong.
Yeah.
Come out, second night, I'm like, okay. Track slicks off, and guess what? Here comes Kasey.
It got good. And, went out, set a good time. I think I qualified third and won the heat race. And I drew, pill 4 for the dash and almost ran second. I was passing, what's his name from Jacksonville? Dude always wins over there.
Nienhuiser,
yep. Yeah. I was working on him, got by him. I think he got me back around time, but I ended up third. And I was like, it's still a good spot to start in for 10,000 to win. And we went out. I actually went out for the dash draw, and there was there was Blake Hahn, there was Timms, there was Brian Bell. There was some fast guys, and I'm right here with them. And I remember right before I went out and drew the pill, I looked at the crowd and I had my arms out, and that place went nuts. And I'm like, I'm going to be the local to do it tonight. This is it. I'm going to be the guy to knock all these guys out of the way. And I drew that pill, and we ended up running third in a dash, and time was coming. I actually went out and talked to Blake Hahn for about 45 minutes on the racetrack. I was telling him, I'm glad you're here, man. We need guys like you here. And he's like, yeah, we're excited. We're really not really sure what the track's going to do. I was like, it's probably going to lay rubber for 50 laps. I was going to put a harder tire on and just kind of limp around for a minute and, let the race just come to you. And actually, he ended up giving me some tires before the feature.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was a cool guy. I was like, it's Blake Hahn. His mom, his family owns a chili bowl stuff. Yeah. And I was like, this is cool, And we went out for the feature. I started third. I think I fell back to 11th at one point.
You fell back pretty far.
I took it easy. And Tim's passed me. I think we were maybe 10, 12 laps into it, just smoking his tires. I'm like, oh, you ding dong, you're not going to make it. and there I was just biding my time, just biding it. And I knew there was going to be a red for fuel. And I was saving my stuff till that point. And we had the red. I think there was maybe 15 to go, 14, 15 to go.
Something like that.
And when I'm sitting there, I took my helmet off. We've already ran 35 laps. And that's a lot, but I felt great. I was like, man, we got to be good. And even though I was back there,
and at that time you was about third or fourth, wasn't you?
No, I think I was eighth.
I
might have been eighth. Yeah, I was still that far back. And I took my helmet off and I got a drink. And my dad came out and I said, hey, how's my tires? He goes, man, they look great. I was like, okay, we're good. I'm gonna start turning it up now. And while I'm sitting there, everybody in front of me, cords were showing on their tires, and I was like, oh, they're in trouble. There's no way they can make another 15 laps. It's rubbered down, And I'm, like I said, I'm sitting there and there's cords showing on everybody's tires and they're changing their tires. Well, they got to go to the back. Well, that just kept moving me up. Well, I think I got up to, fifth. And anyway, we got the restart and I went past Stephen Russell and Brian Bell. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting in third. And that's a good run. But I wasn't done. The car just kept going and going. And there was Hahn. And his tires were hurt bad. And he was not saying he was blocking the track, but he was trying to hold me off. I would do the same thing. If I'm in trouble and the race is almost over, I'm going to try to hang in there as best I can.
Especially with that kind of money on the line.
Oh, absolutely. It's 10 grand. That's life. That's life-changing money to me. You can't just go out and win 10 grand at every racetrack, And anyway, I went by him and that was coming out of 4, and we went down into 1 and 2, and man, he just ran me up the track, and I was like, man, what the hell is this guy's problem? Anyway, we just left him and checked out from him, but there was Joby, and he was slowing down. I mean, he was still fast, but he knew he had to conserve his tires, and I remember I reeled him in just a little bit more, and then we kind of just stayed there, and then the race was over. And before the race even started, my race receiver wasn't working. And so they wanted this to stop on the straightaway. And I didn't know that. And I look over and I'm going down the back straight. I'm like, oh my God, I just won $5,000. And, I was like, that's a lot of money, yeah, baby, we're going to buy a house now, and anyway, I look over and there's Joby and Blake Hahn sitting on the straightaway. And I was like, well, I guess I'm supposed to stop down there. Well, I go through and I'm going down past my dad and everybody just going ballistic, for me. But even though it was second and I wanted to win it, it was still a great feeling.
But you still beat some of the best guys.
Oh yeah. And
some guys that race for a living and professionally.
Yes. And even though it's at our home track, this it's not for everybody. You have to get around there. It's not easy. It's very technical, and not a lot of out of town guys can come down here and do that. I mean, there's a handful, but not everyone can do it, and that's why a lot of them guys don't come here.
Right. Oh yeah.
And I stopped down here on a straightaway, and I got out, and I think it might have been one of my buddies. He's like, "Oh my God, Kasey, you just ran second." I was like, "I know, man. I just made some money, baby." And I get out, and I remember I took my earplugs out and I took my gloves off and I set them in the seat, and I remember looking at Blake Hahn, and I told him, "Hey man, good run," and dude, and then it was just on from there. They cussed me like a sailor, and I ran over him to pass him, and I had to drive over him just to pass him. I'm like, what the hell are y'all talking about? And I walked over to his car. I said, "Show me where I hit you. Where'd I touch you at?" "Oh, you motherfucker," and blah blah blah. And I'm like, dude, what is your guys' problem? Well, anyway, my dad's like, "Kasey, just come over here." And one of his guys goes, "Yeah, Kasey, go over and listen to your bitch ass dad." And I went,
"Ooh."
No, we're not going to disrespect my dad, you know. And then we started arguing, and it was just back and forth, and then me and Hans into it, and there's security, and, you know, and I'm there's a lot of kids watch these things, and I don't like doing these things in front of kids. They don't need to see that, and I was trying to keep my cool as best I could, even though I just ran 50 laps, you know, and my mind's still on the racetrack, you know, and not only did you run 50 laps, you just ran the best race of your life and just made the most money you've ever made. And, I mean, there was a lot going through my mind at that very moment. And then before you know it, this little mouthy pit guy, dude, just walks over and he spits on me. And I turn around and I asked him, I was like, you just spit on me, dude? And then I pushed him. Dude, they disqualified me and took my money, and, you know, and I'm a no good piece of trash and all these things. I'm like, I am? Are you crazy? You know what I really could have done to that guy? And I didn't, but, you know, I don't want to do that there. That's not why we're there to race. Right. But I think about that night every day of my life. Yeah. And I wished I would have just walked away and just let them just mouth, because they just got beat by a local. They didn't like it. Right. Whatever. Don't like it, don't come back.
That was the one thing I remember talking to Brenda Riesinger that night. Mm-hmm. She's like, my only problem was it was on the front straightaway in front of everybody, in front of the kids. Yep. She's like, if that would have happened in the pits, I wouldn't have said a word.
Right. Yeah.
And I know, you know, it's easy to say, I wish I would have done it different now, but heat of the moment, you're very passionate.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody who knows Kasey knows you have a temper. Yeah. I mean, it's calmed down a lot.
Oh, yeah.
You know, 20-year-old Kasey, there would have been a full-fledged brawl.
Oh, we would have been fighting. Yeah. 100%.
it would have been bad. And I don't mean that disrespectful. No, you know, when I say you have a temper, it's just you're very passionate, and everybody who knows you knows that.
Yeah, I love racing. I do.
And, you know, I know that's one thing you wish you could take back.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
As far as I'm concerned, that night validated you as a driver and as not just I don't want to say one-track wonder. I don't.
Well, but we run here a lot. You
do, but I'm just saying, like, you know, up to that point, you would beat the locals. Yeah. And that night was the night I'm like, Kasey's a driver. Yeah. You put Kasey at Farmington, and he can beat anybody and everybody. Yeah.
You know, and I love a slick racetrack. That is my thing. I love them slick racetracks. And if the track's heavy and rough, we're still there. We can still win the race. You know, but when that track slows down and everything gets technical, that's when Kasey comes out.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I love that stuff.
That's when you shine. I always, you know, I'm buddies with Jeff Asher. I know you guys are friends somewhat. Yeah. But you also have a very heated rivalry at times.
Yeah, we do. We do.
And I can always go, I'm like, Jeff, tonight's your night. It's cowboy up. It's rough. Kasey's not going to be as good. When it's slick, I'm like, Jeff, you're screwed. Yeah. You know. Yeah. Do you want to talk about yours and his rivalry?
Yeah. No, we've been friends for many years.
I almost actually said something to Blake Hahn. We were in Port City last week, and I looked over, and he was standing right next to me, and I thought about the whole thing you guys just talked about. I was replaying it in my mind. I was getting ready to say, hey, man, how's it going? And I was going to be like, you going to come back to Farmington?
Yeah, come
just
back.
Out of the blue, I was going to ask him because he didn't know who I was. And I was just going to see his reaction going, I'm in Oklahoma and Tulsa. Who's this guy asking me if I'm coming to Farmington?
Yeah,
that whole, not to interrupt the Asher thing, but Sutton was going on and on. I was like, I got to get in here for a minute, man. Tell my Blake Hahn story that he was standing next to me.
You know, and I'm still a Blake Hahn fan.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy.
He's another one, though, that we were talking about race car drivers. When you look at him, you're like, this dude plays a mean game of chess.
Yeah. You know? But he can will a race car. And that's what's cool about
You're like, that dude's going home play Dungeons and Dragons, that's for sure.
Yeah, right. But no, he can still will it, man. But me and Jeff, man, we go way back, man. We've been hunting together many times, and we've hung out and we've chased girls, and I mean, we've been around the block, me and him. And but when he got a sprint car and he started getting faster, it was a rivalry.
Oh yeah, but you need that, like,
sure, yeah.
To me, it makes things exciting.
Yeah,
you know, the night. The last night that I can't say last night. Well, last night's the year I was there, and I think you ended up passing him. It was you guys had a exchange on Facebook, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Yeah. They stopped side by side on front straightaway. I get my phone out. Yeah, I'm ready to start recording.
Yeah,
and the suckers start hugging.
Yeah,
I'm like, what? Come on.
I didn't know he was going to do that. Yeah. He did. He parked down there, and that took a lot. I mean, that took a lot of man to park down there and do that in front of all these people.
you guys have a healthy rivalry, and it might get ugly at times, but I think it's good for the sport because it keeps people interested.
Well, I tell you what, when I remember when I was a kid, the big rivalry was Joey and Tommy Worley.
Yeah.
And you either loved one of them and you hated the other one. I mean, that's how it was. I mean, I don't want to be hated by nobody. Excuse me.
It don't matter if you're racing out there. There's people that are.
Oh, there's people not going to like you.
Going to not like you for sure.
Right. And I care about people's opinions toward me. I really do. And if somebody says they don't like me, I'm like, damn, man, what have I ever done to you?
Why?
You know? And I'm like, why? And most of these people don't even know who I am, or I don't know them. They don't know me, but they don't like me because they like somebody else, and which is okay. I mean, that's fine. Look at all the people that boo Kyle Larson. Dude, that guy's the best in the world. Why are you booing him? Well, they don't like seeing him win. And
I've always said, talking to Kasey Burch, you cannot like the guy.
Yeah.
He's fun to talk to. Now, you might not like what you see of him on the racetrack or, that, because that was back when you was a teenager. I wasn't a fan of yours because stuff I seen on the racetrack, but I didn't know you as a person.
Right.
Then you get to know somebody, you're like, man, he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
But I've always said Kasey is one of those people that you cannot walk away from a conversation and be like, man, that guy's it.
Yeah.
You're passionate, you're a hardworking guy. Like, there's just, I feel like that aspect you got a lot of going for you, and that's why you got a lot of fans. You're no doubt probably the fan favorite out there.
Thank you. I try to be. I really do.
I remember the night when you on the front straightaway pill draw and you put your arms out. I'm like, my gosh.
Yeah,
I remember that.
That place went crazy, man.
Yeah, it did. And I'm like,
I tell you what, that gave me goosebumps. And my hair stood up on the back of my neck. I'm like, God, dude, this has got to be what Steve Kinzer used to feel like, man. It's crazy.
You can't tell me though if Yoder didn't go out there and pull that pill. And
dude,
the crowd wouldn't have went wild.
I'm a Yoder fan. I am. I'm glad the guy comes out there.
Oh, I love it.
He's been racing since I was a little kid.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I don't know if he's ever won a race.
I don't think so. Yeah.
I got a story about Brad. I got.
Let's hear it.
I got to throw it in here, man. I think it was like 2010, 2011. And honestly, me and Jeff Asher was just talking about this day. He came to my daughter's birthday party, and I love the guy.
Right. Yeah.
And his daughter and my daughter are best friends. Anyway,
Yep.
I was taking a leak in the front of the truck, and there used to be a big pile of tires back in the day up where I used to park, and I didn't know he was going through there, and I'm doing my business, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, there's somebody standing there. Well, it was Brad going through the tires, and I'm like, and the dude's probably a millionaire.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
probably a secret millionaire.
Yeah.
And nobody but he is. He's got money.
He's a millionaire, and he's got $1 million worth of stuff he could sell to be.
Oh my gosh, yes.
2-time millionaire.
yeah.
He can be a millionaire multiple times over. And I was like, Brad, come on, go buy you a tire.
And that pile that always sits there, some of those have been there for 5 years.
Oh my gosh, that's how long they've been there. And I was like, man, go buy you a tire. He goes, nope, I ain't gonna do it. It's gonna take my start money away. I went, all right, man. Anyway, we're like 20, 30 minutes away from the feature starting, and I'm kind of getting ready. Well, here comes Brad carrying a tire. It was a right rear. And I look, and he goes, found the good one. And I looked at it, I went, man, there's got to be something wrong with that thing. That thing would not be in that pile if there wasn't something wrong, man. And I was like, well, that looks like a good one, man. Well, good luck. And he went and put it on his car, I guess. And he was worried about spending $200. He didn't want to lose his start money.
Right.
So we're idling around the track, and I'm going down the back straightaway, and there's Brad with a flat right rear tire going, go, 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 go. And I'm like, that knucklehead. Well, he didn't have nobody change his tire for him, so he didn't get to start the feature. So he lost his start money. And
I'm surprised he didn't just stay out there and be like, no, I'm getting a lap in.
I am too.
Right.
And but he's got his daughter racing now, and I think that's awesome that a girl's racing sprint cars at Farmington. I love it. I think the place needs that, and I'm, like I said, I'm a fan. Honestly, honest to God's truth, I'm a fan of everybody out there. I really am. And if you're in a race car, it don't matter if you're a sprint car, pure street, I have mad respect for you. I know what it takes to keep a race car on track. And I do. I respect every driver out there, and I'm a fan of everybody. I really am.
The sport needs Brad Yoders of the world.
Absolutely.
He's the only guy out there who makes money.
Yeah, he's the only one making money.
He's the only one making money.
Yeah.
He
except for that night, he lost his 200.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
But we've talked. We want to get him and Emily on here sometime, and that'd be it's cool to see. you know, her out there, and I wish Brad would put a little better equipment behind her.
Oh, I know, and he could.
He could put himself in better equipment.
Yeah, that's his business, and that's his stuff. You know, do what you want,
right?
man.
But she's out there. I'm jealous of her. She's 18, 19-year-old kid out there running laps in a sprint car, and here I'm 45 and be like, man, I've never drove anything other than a mini stock and a micro.
And honestly, when you're a kid and you're racing with, when I started racing with guys that my dad raced with, you know, like Tommy Senior and those guys. I'm like, you know, this is amazing, and I think this is true to this day. I'm still the youngest guy to ever win a modified feature at Farmington. And back when I raced modifieds, there was no A and B mod. There was just a modified class, and there was 25, 30 cars every single night. They always had a B main, but then when they broke the classes up, things kind of changed, and one was a little more affordable. But now, anymore, oh my gosh, dude, modifieds are more money than a sprint car.
Yeah. That's, you know, the reason.
You need to get one.
That's the reason Asher switched over. You know, he looked at him. I remember he told the story. Him and Joey Boyd were sitting side by side at the banquet, and their average starting and finish positions was identical.
Yeah, what was the checks at the end, though?
Yeah, it was like Asher or Joey's was like $10,000 more.
Yeah,
you know?
something crazy.
Asher's like, we're spending the same amount of money, and you're winning $12,000, and I won $2,000. This is stupid.
It's crazy, but that's true though. But like I said, modifieds they cost just as much, if not more, than a sprint car. It's true.
We are going to have to wrap it up here with you. I knew once we got you on here, it'd be a free for all. We'll have to get you back on sometime when we can just go. You know.
Okay.
But you want to take a moment and thank your sponsors?
Yeah. You know, Drainbuster Plumbing, of course, and you know, I've got new sponsors this year, and Dalton Cleaning. He's always been with me, and you know, without, like I said, without sponsors, you can't race.
Right.
And very thankful for all those guys, and I appreciate everything they do for me. And you know, we're ready to go again this year. We don't have the car ready just yet, but we'll get there. Yeah. And it's coming quick.
So we're going for 5.
I'm gonna try for 5.
5 in a row.
It's gonna be tough. I think there's only been just a hand. I think Tim won 5 straight. Ronnie Milton, and then of course Tubby won 9. I'm like, that's just bizarre. Yeah. But to do 5 in a row is going to be very tough.
It really is. You know, it's a lot of sacrifice, a lot of time away from the family.
Most definitely.
I know you got a young family, and you know.
Yeah, we're in a busy year. We're getting ready to start building our home, and got racing coming up, and you know.
So thank you for coming on with us, and good luck this year and your chase for 5. And
we're gonna go for 5.
We'll definitely see you out there.
I gotta ask me who's gave me a right rear.
Okay, yeah.
Gave one too.
I'm sorry. Okay, this got to be good.
I can't believe he forgot his
I know
signature question.
Tell us about the dirtiest right rear you've ever given and received.
Me and Asher had a scuffle last year. That's probably about the only time I've ever received anything, and it wasn't that bad. But myself, I think I got into Robbie Standridge one time on accident, but the next corner, it wasn't an accident on his part. I think the corner after that, I fed him another one. I think, and it was pretty hard. I ain't gonna lie. But like it started off, that was probably my fault. And that's probably it. But you try to have respect for everybody out there, you know, but you know, there's times where it gets heated, you know,
for sure. And that's the thing. I've seen it heated with you and guys before, but it's passion coming out. One way, you know,
there's a lot of time and money invested in these race cars that a lot of people just don't understand. And when it gets ran into, it's most of the time intentional or accident, you get aggravated, you know, and you just have a hard time taking it easy. Well, no, you stupid idiot. You just tore up my stuff.
Yeah, how many times, you know, one kind of last question here, how many times something happens on the track and you heated and you feel this way, and then 2 days goes by and you're like, well, you know.
Several.
Yeah.
You're in the moment. You get upset, but then a couple days goes by. You're like, all right, man, it wasn't as bad as I thought. Or, you know, there's a new week coming up. Just forget about it. Brush it on the rug. And, you know, but there's old wounds that resurface, and you know, and that's just part of racing. And
it doesn't take much.
No, it don't take much at all.
You know, and back to the you and Asher feud, it was funny because you guys would be feuding, and your daughters out on the track riding a 4-wheeler together. You know, I'm like, well, that's
you know, we got our thing going.
We'll spending the night with each other.
And you don't take it out on your kids, man. You know, them kids are they're innocent, and they don't know anything that's going on between their dads. And but like I said, that was. Like, it took a big man to stop down on the straightaway and do what he did.
And I can guarantee you guys race together. That's not going to be the last time it happens.
Oh no, we're it's a. I try to make it a friendly rivalry, and he drives hard and with respect. He wants to win just as bad as I do. Mm-hmm. Things are going to happen. I mean, it's just part of it. And that night that it all happened, it was it's just part of racing, and that's the way it goes.
Two guys with short tempers.
Yeah, pretty much, man.
It doesn't take much.
No, it. Oh gosh, I'm ready to get that behind me.
We
got a new year coming up. It might happen again.
I had to bring it up. That's part of our podcast. And you know what? If it happens this year, there's a chance that we might want to bring you both on.
Bring us on at the same time, man.
Let's go. Let's duke it out, hug it out.
Yeah, man. I'd love to come back on because I could tell you 60 years worth of stories right here on this set, dude. And I'd do it too.
Well, we'll tell the wife if you move out.
I know where I'm coming.
First place, we know.
Right there in that chair, baby. This place, I know you guys probably hadn't seen it. This place is awesome, man. They got Dennis Rodman jerseys. There's Iowa Hawkeye stuff and blue stuff. All you guys really ought to see this and check it out.
We're very fortunate that Chad Winch lets us use this place.
Yeah, Chad, thanks, man. This is pretty sweet.
Yep. Thanks for coming on, Kasey, and good luck this year.
Thank you, sir, so much. I sure appreciate all you guys, and like to be back on soon.
Yeah, we'll get you on.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you.
See you.
Another new sponsor on the Dirty Right Rear podcast is Pettis Automotive. Pettis Automotive is located in Farmington. They have a selection that is second to none. Shopping with Pettis Automotive means having access to a wealth of new and used cars, trucks, and SUVs to choose from, whether you're intrigued by a Ford, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram. The story never changes. Pettis Automotive has exactly what you're looking for, all at a price that never leaves your bank account feeling beaten and bruised. They have on-site collision repair, parts, and a service department. Pettis Automotive is located on Woodlawn Drive in Farmington, right off Highway 67 at the Fairgrounds exit.
Hey guys, this is Jeremy Booyer and Jeremy Sutton here with the Dirty Right Rear podcast. We want to highlight one of our sponsors, supporters, and everything else with Expert Graphics, Powder Coating, and Fabrication. Expert Powder Coating and Fabrication is a family-owned business out of Farmington over in the industrial park. You can go over there and get some graphics, lettering, anything for your race cars. Get some powder coating done for your race cars, any other kind of stuff. Get any kind of fabrication also done with them. You can come over there and talk to Andy Moss. He's in there just plugging away at the computer, designing everything, doing whatever he can. You got Dennis in the back with his lab coat, mixing up the powder coat, really getting the stuff going. And then you got Dan over there just fabricating anything and everything you want. But if you want to hit them up, Expert Powder Coating over in Farmington at the industrial park, you can give them a call, 573-756-7324.
We want to welcome Premier Door Company to the list of sponsors for the Dirty Right Rear podcast. Keith and Paige Jackson with Premier Door Company out of Terre-de-Lac. They do all things garage door related. We got sales, service, and installation of any garage door equipment, garage door openers, any garage door problems you may have. You can call 573-783-7775 or look them up on Facebook at Premier Door Company.
Hey guys, this is Jeremy Booyer and Jeremy Sutton of the Dirty Right Rear podcast. We want to shout out to one of our new sponsors, which we've talked about quite a bit lately, but Coles County Speedway, actually the oldest micro track in the United States, opening up in 1956. They're going to be running every Saturday night, outlaw wing, non-wing, A-class wing, restrictor, junior sprint, and mod lights. They'll also have several 2- and 3-day big shows all throughout the season that they're going to have, and is the home of the WFO Micro Series also, and you can check them out at colescountyspeedway.com or on their Facebook page, and their address is 10743 East County Road 900 North, Mattoon, Illinois. Okay, guys, here we are back on the episode. This time we got Chasten Bowen with us.
Welcome to the set, Chasten.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Yep. So tell us about yourself, how you got into racing, who you are.
Well, that's a long story there. So we've been racing a modified at Farmington for, I guess we've been in A-mods for about 5 or 6 years now. 1 year in a B-mod and then ran a year in a mod light. So we've been racing since 2016, I guess, was our starting year. So,
yeah. But even before that, you was a part of the Birch family or, sponsors of the Birch, personal friends. So you've been around racing your whole life.
Yeah, my entire life. Yeah, so my parents were really good friends with Tom and Mary Ann Burch, and obviously Tom raced, and then Kasey's dad Kenny raced, and then Keith and Kasey started too. So yeah, my dad was running around with them, and then I obviously when I got old enough to run around to get at the track, that's what I did too. So been around sprint cars a whole life. So.
I remember there's been many shows we've went to across the short track nationals. I remember my first short track nationals was with your family.
Yeah. Big as race fans as we are racers, so sometimes that doesn't leave much time for both. So
yeah, and even to this day, you guys still do a lot of traveling when you're not racing.
We do. Yeah, we go to Knoxville every year. Usually take a week off racing for that. Been to Chili Bowl 9 or 10 times. So we do a lot of fun stuff. Like I said, if it's a race, I'll probably watch it. I'd watch the crackheads run around the block if they set up as a race. So.
Was it short track you went with them? Was that when you blew your back out something?
I don't think so. No. We would make fun of them pretty hard for that.
Yeah, no, that's different.
I don't remember that. So
that was the we went down the first year I'm talking about that I went with you guys. We didn't make it for the day show, but that's the infamous Hockett, blowing the
picture.
Yeah, the picture.
Yeah.
We got there. His sister Courtney had to take ACTs or something, so we didn't leave Leadington till like noon. And drove all the way down there, got there at like 5:30 in time for hot laps, watched the race, and then watched the race, turned around, drove right back home.
Got home by the time the sun came up.
Yeah, I remember all I wanted, dumb fan in me, was I wanted to see a car go off the turn 3 and 4 at Little Rock and end up in the woods. And I think we actually got up on the white flag lap because whoever was winning was checked out, and his dad, they all like to make a mad dash for the car. So you're the first one out of the parking lot. And we missed last lap. The winner took checkered flag, and somebody went off 3 and 4 into the woods, and I was so mad because we missed it.
Yeah, if you know anything about my dad, it's almost a game. I don't even know why. We're not in a rush to get anywhere. Well, I guess that night we were in a rush to get home, but we try to be the first one out of the parking lot. It's like a race within a race, so it makes my mom pretty mad every time we do it, but it's just I do that now too. So it's just a game within a game. We try to be the first one on the parking lot, so we watch every lap, and we're speed walking to the car. And
I remember
now there,
me, you, your dad, your sister, and Scott.
Yeah,
Scott Masters, is that his last name?
Bird. Yeah, Scott Bird.
Okay, I don't know why I was thinking Scott Master, but yeah, that was my first. That was my first big trip outside of Farmington.
Yeah,
for the races.
I miss Arkansas, Little Rock. That was one of my favorite trips, and good racing. There was so much of it. By the end of the weekend, you're just like, I can't watch another race. It was good. I miss that.
That's why a couple years ago when they had the last one, I had to go down, and I did the same thing. I went down, which I left Saturday morning, but went down Saturday, come home Saturday night. But I had to be there for that last race. That was one of my favorite tracks.
Yeah, mine too.
So.
My favorite track's getting bulldozed as we speak. Belleville. I seen them starting to take it down, man. I really didn't expect that to really happen.
Yeah. Did you watch Herm's video?
I watched a little bit of it, but I kind of turned it off.
Yeah, so I guess it's really happening.
I mean, I was just I don't care about the new track they're going to build or whatever. I was just hoping it really wouldn't get tore down because that was just some of the best racing in the country there, man.
Got to race there. But they added mod lights to last year. They quit racing.
Yeah.
So actually, my very first year was their last year, I believe, or around that time.
Yeah, I think it was their last year.
So we got to race 2 or 3 nights in a mod light, and almost won my first feature. I think Matt Boyd.
I was there.
I was a little polite.
I forgot about
him.
that.
I could have used the bumper, and I was a little polite.
I forgot about that. I still remember
that race. I felt like I should have won that one, but I was a little nice that night.
Yeah, because I think it got real slick, and the bottom was the only place to be.
Yeah.
And everybody was just hauling in there, stopping, hauling in.
Yep.
And Matt was nervous wreck, and he was going slower than anything there towards the end because he wanted to make sure he wasn't going to spin out.
Yeah, I was. Of course, I hadn't raced for the win much, so I didn't know what I was doing. But I was pretty polite. I wish, looking back. I mean, obviously he won it, and it was cool seeing him excited. So, but yeah, that was one. It'd been pretty cool to win at Little Belleville. That'd been pretty neat. So
I guess they are going to rebuild it, right?
That's what they're saying. Yeah,
it's supposed to be big though.
Bigger.
Yeah,
quarter mile. We'll see. It's going to be the back left corner of the parking lot, supposedly by something. I don't know. We'll see.
I need to watch his video just so I can talk about it because I didn't get to watch it all.
I couldn't hear that well that day, so I didn't try to watch it. I was hoping you did, but maybe I need to go home and listen to it today.
Yeah.
So, Chasten, you're the 2024 defending A-Mod track champion at Empire Speedway.
Yeah, we had a really good year, and wasn't really setting out to run points. We wanted to travel a little bit more, but just with the work schedules, I work till Friday evening. It makes it hard to get anywhere Friday, and my dad works Saturday, so it's kind of the one place to go. And of course, we love racing there, so it's no problem. But we took a week off to go to Knoxville. My wife and I went on vacation. We weren't really anticipating on running for points, and then it got to the end of the year, and actually Kasey we pit beside him, and he looked at me and said, "You're going to win this points championship," and I'm like, I might, and then it just kept, I just kept reeling off good nights and, just top 3 every night and reeling off points. And by the end of the year, it was there. So
then 3 nights ago, you decided to switch to a new MB Customs car?
It's actually, it's a Mark Bush car. It's MBR is what they call it. But yeah, so that was actually Jim Black's car. Okay. Jim bought that from Austin Redding, who they're building their own cars now. And Jim ran it a few times. And Jim, if you know anything about Jim, he don't stick with anything long. He's ready to go to the next thing, which he's fired up. And he was wanting to build his own stuff, kind of modify a GRT. So we weren't really even looking. I mean, we were very happy with that car. And
right.
But it was, pretty new. I mean, it didn't have a ton of nights on it, and we went and looked at it and probably knew it was out of our price range, right? And then, we kind of said, "Hey, it's a nice piece, Jim." And he called us the next week, and he pretty well, shot us the price. It was like, well, we can't pass that up. So we were switching.
I remember, and I was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, I
you got like 2 nights left, and you're switching cars.
It was just one of those things we couldn't pass up the opportunity. We appreciate Jim for being easy to work with, but we just couldn't pass it up. So,
but it worked out.
Yeah, well, we did it right this time. We actually kept our car and made sure that we liked that one before we sold it, because I've done that the other way. We built a Pierce car one time, and we sold our Impressive that it was worn out. I mean, it was 8 years old at that point, but I missed that Impressive a couple times. I was kind of regret I sold it, and so we did it right this time. We said, hey, we're keeping this car. We're in it easy enough where we can keep this car and make sure that this one's going to act the same. And then once we won the first night out in it. So I knew like 3 laps in, I said, it's better. It was better. So I said, put the for sale sign on that one. And with the year we had there, the last 2 years, it wasn't hard to move that car as well too.
Right.
So.
And it sold pretty quick, right?
Yeah. Jacob Inman bought it.
Okay.
He's thrilled about it. So I think that'd be a good piece for him he ran it a couple times, I think, at Benton and things like that. I think he'll like it. So
2025, are we going to defend our championship?
Well, I mean, we've got vacation planned and Knoxville planned, so I'm going to have to make use of every single night I'm racing. I'd like to travel a little bit. We need to get out and run some laps elsewhere, but it's really hard when we're coming out to Farmington, and we have the confidence that we're going to run up front every night. And it's been a long time since I had that kind of confidence. I've never had that confidence. So when we roll out to Farmington, we know I expect to win or be up front, and so it's hard to drive by that track and, when you can make a little bit of money, pay for your tires and fuel, and go somewhere where, Peevely's, that's a hard place to race, and, Mars is hard series to race with. So I'd like to travel a little bit more, but to be honest, I'm having fun. I haven't won a whole lot, so I'm having fun winning. So
nothing wrong with that. One thing we like to forget is sponsors. So while I'm thinking about it, you want to thank your sponsors for this year?
Yeah. I got 2 new ones, M. Miller, Asphalt Paving, and Shiloh Builders. So that's 2 new guys that have jumped on with us this year. So appreciate them. And then, of course, the guys we've always had. My mom's business, right? She's been there from, obviously, the start. And, we let her our own cars every year. And I appreciate everything, my family does for us, of course. And, a couple of family friends, BBM 66, Parkland Precision Machine, BMW Convenience, Dalton Cleaning Restoration. He's been with us since we started. Flipping Pallets of Smokies, they've been with us. He was actually my very first sponsor, which is neat. Yeah. Kenny Harris was. So I'm trying to think. Drainbusters Plumbing. That's
can't forget
South Pine Vintage, which is Scott Bird we talked about. They're all good people that help out a lot and kind of make it possible. Like I said, we appreciate all our sponsors, and a lot of them has been around a long time, so we really appreciate that.
Speaking of your family, what is your actual relation with Vince Conway?
So Vince is my uncle. He's my mom's brother. So
I've been around Vince. I mean, in and out of racing, and then now he helps Sam's Mod Lights and stuff, I see him a lot more and talk to him, but I never really knew his exact relation to you guys.
Yeah. So he's my uncle. Obviously he's kind of a legend of Mod Lights. When I was young, he's
the OG.
He was the guy that was winning. I mean, he builds his own stuff.
Yep.
And, I mean, and he's always been there for me, and he's like I said, even to this day, he's whatever I need, he's there for me. And
yep, when we talk about all the classes having their godfathers in the Mod Light, he's the godfather of the Mod Light when it started and everything.
I'd agree. Yeah, I'd agree. He's like I said, he's there for me, and he's obviously we started Mod Lights. That was just the first logical step because I mean that's your uncle. It's a good place to start. So he's always helped me and always done whatever he could. So I appreciate him.
I remember. So you started in Mod Light, but what was your first laps ever on dirt?
Well, it was in a sprint car.
Yeah.
So
that was Keith's car, right?
It was. Tom and Keith's car. So we were just helping, and Dad never had a desire to race. He enjoyed working on stuff, and he's about like Tom, where they want to keep everything perfect, and kind of just that they just got along really well. And Dad was always content doing what he was doing, and they were selling out. They were, that was one of they've done it, a couple times, sold out and got back in, whatnot, but they were selling out, and Tom kept asking Dad. He said, "Hey, we're done. This is your one time if you want to get in a sprint car." And I think my dad's, done slow warm-ups before, and my dad's like, I have no desire. So I guess I was 19, and I said no initially, and Tom just wouldn't allow me to say no. He said, "You're going to get in this car and try it." And I wanted to do it, but obviously I wasn't, I'm not the type to get in somebody else's car and just think I'm going to, anyways. Right. So we did it. After the races one night, we got in his car, and we made some laps. So I got in the car, and I'll never forget, Tom was just so laid back. He didn't care. He actually had the car sold when I was making my laps. So that was a little intimidating, but I'll never forget. I'm, in the suit, and obviously my heart is beating so hard. I mean, my heart is exploding out of my chest. I've never even been in a race car. I'm in a freaking sprint car, and I'm trying to figure out how to turn the fueling on and get it in gear, and what order you do that kind of stuff. I'm trying to figure all that out, and I'm got my helmet on. I'm uncomfortable. I've never worn a helmet. I've never, I'm out of my element. And my dad puts his head in the cockpit as soon as I get ready to push off, and he said, "Tom has his car sold. Whatever you do, do not wreck this car." Was the last thing he told me, and so obviously that was not the most confidence-inspiring quote he's ever given me. So we fired it off, and I rolled around a little bit and was like, this is unbelievable. Your head's rattling around. It doesn't feel like you should be able to go as fast as what you're going. And the faster I went, the better it felt. And I, it was probably 9 or 10 laps. And I was probably, getting lapped in 4 laps kind of pace, but it still felt fast to me. And I came in, and, my dad's like, everybody's like excited. Like they were actually impressed that I didn't, that I had the speed I had. And I remember telling my dad, like, I could have went a lot faster, but you told me if I wrecked this thing, I've got to pay for it. So anyways, that was kind of, our start. I grew up watching racing. I never had really a desire to race. And we realized we got a lot more time on our hands now that Tom and Keith weren't racing. So we went with Vince and bought a home built Mod Light, and we couldn't keep that thing off 2 wheels for an entire year we raced it. We tried to flip that thing every night we raced. It was the fastest. It was one of the fastest cars out there, but I tried to flip it every night. I mean, I couldn't keep it on the ground. We had fun with that car, and then it was just the next logical step to, jump to modifieds. And then I was giving Kasey crap. I talked about this at the banquet. I said, he's probably the reason I'm not racing sprint cars. Obviously, that would have been the logical step for us, but he broke his back the year we started racing. So I was still living in my mom's home, and she pretty well told me in no uncertain words that if I'm going to live in her house, I'm not going to be in a sprint car. So obviously, Kasey's sitting there with a broken back, and we feel absolutely terrible. I mean, it's like his life was on pause at that moment. Obviously he's recovered, went on to win 5 championships. Pretty awesome. But at that moment, my mom told me, "Hey, in no uncertain terms, you're not going to be racing a sprint car in my house." So, that's kind of why we went to the Mod Lights and the modifieds, and at this point, I mean, I guess never say never. But
I was going to say, you don't live with mom no more.
I don't. Yeah,
it's sprint car time.
What's the wife? What's
the wife? Yeah, she's in agreement with the mom. I don't know.
But do you listen to your wife like you do your mom?
Probably not. No. Yeah. No.
So that means we're going sprint car racing.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd love to, but I mean, I do also. I've been around it enough. I've seen some pretty bad things associated with sprint car racing. I'm not gonna lie. Even just at Farmington, I understand it's a hobby. At the end of the day, I've got a job to
Still gotta go to work.
I still got to go back to work. I would love to be in a sprint car, but also I know exactly.
If you decide to do it, just show up with one, and then it just is blow.
Yeah.
If you ask, and then
ask for
then it's a
forgiveness.
fight, and at
Yeah.
least it's one good fight instead of like weeks of fighting and
I
stuff.
tell you what, my dad's. He knows the answer too. With his wife and my mom, he knows the answer. But he said a couple times, Tom would have really sold us that car cheaper than we could ever have got it. He's told me that so many times, and we know. I mean, the sprint cars are so much easier to work on.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't know what we were doing when we started modified racing. We were putting stagger in the car trying to get it to turn, and we had no clue. We were green as we could be, and I look at the sprint cars, and they're we sit pit by the Birches, Kasey and them, and they're putting blocks on the cars and jacking things out, and it's super easy. And then we're over there making love to our car with an angle finder,
That's what we've been talking about. The last few people we've talked to on these shows and everything, and that modified game is just.
It is.
Man, you almost got to have a degree and all kinds of stuff to be able to do it, because everything on it's just crazy.
I was listening to the last podcast. You made a lot of good points. It's getting far out there. The things that we were setting, how we're setting the car up nowadays is just, such a far cry from when I started, and just a lot different. Even the way they race. When I first started, I kind of felt like I started at the end of that kind of era racing modifieds, where you were just kind of trying to find the traction, and you had the top and the bottom. You either roll the bottom or hit the top, and now it's all about the keeping your momentum. You want to run the middle and keep your momentum, and it's just a different style.
So many adjustments and so much stuff you can do to change the car and do all this, and it just blows my mind. It's just, and like Rusty did say, you have to have help. There's no way you can go buy a car and not have somebody not tell you something, or you will be lost for half the season buying all kinds of stuff you don't need to buy.
Right. Yeah. It's too expensive to trial and error and stuff is a hard part about it.
But it's also kind of sad when he was talking about, if you do go buy one of those expensive cars, if it don't come with something or something, I ain't buying your car.
I wouldn't know about that. Like I said, we run Mark Bush cars, and he's the guy is awesome. He's in his 70s, and anytime we call him, he's great. And
and that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Last week's podcast really opened my eyes when Rusty's like, I can't compete with today's modified guys, and I'm like, what? Like, that just shows you how far it's come and how much it's changed in a short period.
Yeah, I just know even behind the scenes, like how much R&D is done, and we're just local. We're local guys at the end of the day. I want to think that I could compete regionally one day or something like that. But we've worked really hard to get our equipment where we are. But we are a 60th percentile car if we go run a Mars series.
I just still think it's crazy, all this. When we went to Wallace's, we got, his car was right there in our background, but there was those little flaps covering half the springs, and then guys got to buy 6 of those knee pad things to cover your car up when you go to the races and all this stuff.
Well, that's just, we always, me and Dad always said, if someone wants to copy our car, then we're probably gonna be better off if they try to copy what we do than trying to hide what we do. So we've never put anything, anytime we ever, put anything over the tires, it's to block the sun from melting it, because the sun will melt those tires, or make them, not work like they should. But other than that, like I said,
if I had a modified, I think I'd go buy a whole bunch of mirrors and put it underneath it just so everybody could see it. I'd write awful shit underneath it. I'd just put awful crap. So when they would come, be like, "Oh man, let's look at that," and look at it and be like, I can't say stuff, but I can't. I know it would say something bad.
The restraint was visible there. I could see that.
I was getting ready to blow it out, but I stopped. It would say something bad. That just to get at them for wanting to come look at my car.
Yeah, that's funny.
Like a naked dude or something. That'd be even better.
So I know my dirty right rear question is going to be boring with Chasten because he's too clean of a driver.
Actually, might surprise you.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, ironically enough, and I'm curious, so Colin, you interviewed him. What was his answer as far as who's ever given him the dirtiest driver?
Who was it?
I don't think he didn't give names.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
I don't think he gave names.
I can say Colin's the dirtiest rider I've ever given. So
it
was the Queen's Royal, I guess, and he was leading, and I was faster, but he was really fast. It was hard to pass him, and we had a really good race going. And I drove in the corner as hard as I could go, and I thought, if a slider doesn't work here, a slider's not going to work, and it didn't work. It wasn't even close. I'll be honest.
I remember that night. Now
it wasn't even close. I think I hit his left front with my numbers. So, I guess he hit the top just perfectly, and I ran it in there and just. I mean, it didn't hurt him. Thankfully, it caved my door into the cockpit. But I felt pretty bad about that one. I'm not going to lie. And to rub dirt in the wound. I actually, the lap before, passed him at the line. So a caution came out as soon as I slid him. I, dirtied him up pretty bad. And they went back to the last lap where I was actually the leader. And so not only did he not get to keep the lead, I got the lead from him. So I did actually feel bad about that one. That was one you're right. I haven't done a whole lot of dirty things. That was one I was,
Did you, when they threw that yellow, did you think, oh, this next lap it's coming off to me?
I did, yeah. I knew that I had to get a great start. I honestly, though, I know Colin well. I didn't really think it was going to be something insane, but I knew if he got a second to make me have to get on the brakes and throw a slider, he rightfully so would have done it. So I definitely made sure I was on my start game for sure that next restart. But yeah, that was the worst one I've ever given by a pretty large margin.
What about the worst you ever had given to you?
I probably got to give that one to Trey Harris. Trey Harris I guess he's running for the Jameses.
Yeah.
It was one of those nights that, everybody, it seems like every place rains out and Farmington's still racing, which is awesome. I love those nights when it seems like a lot of travelers come in, and it was one of those nights, a lot of cars, the track was juiced up, and, I hadn't won a lot of races by then, so I was really wanting to win. This is probably 2019 or so. So, I was running the top, and it was rough, and I hit a hole and just kind of lost a little bit of momentum, and he took it as an opportunity, which, I don't blame. The track was fast. It was hard to pass, and he took that as his opportunity to make sure he got to the lead. So he used me up with his right rear pretty bad. It was pretty bad, especially for the lead, and especially since I hadn't won a whole lot. I was pretty disappointed. But he's a good guy. I've talked a lot since then to him, and we no hard feelings whatsoever. But it's definitely one race I haven't forgot, that the right rear. We haven't raced a whole lot together, so it's not like I owe him one or anything. But that was definitely one I didn't forget about. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely remember the night you and Colin, because I remember I was in Asher's pit, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to stay out of this one.
Yeah, I went up and talked to him afterwards. Obviously, he wasn't thrilled to see me, which I understand, but he was he understood. I mean, you know the guys that mean to do the things that they do and the guys that don't, right? And I hope my reputation precedes me where, he knew it wasn't something that I just wanted to wreck him. I really thought I was going to clear that slider, and I misjudged it by a country mile, but,
Yeah. Chasten here is another one of our iRacers. So we've got a lot of laps logged on iRacing and a lot of chats.
Yeah, that iRacing's done.
Yeah, I haven't done it in a long time.
We shut that down. Yeah, podcast shut that down.
I haven't even turned mine on in a few months.
It's been 2 or 3 years, but when I had the time to do it, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I never even knew anything about it. Sutton was always on there doing it, and I was like,
it's not much different than road racing. There's fights going on. You still get that same adrenaline rush when you're in the middle of a race, and there's still fights afterwards. So it does do a good replacement.
Is it just like on there where they're like, I punch you in the right head?
We all got headphones on. And
okay.
We're all talking the whole time. Like,
okay.
You might be trying to pass somebody, and you're like, I'm coming for you.
I didn't know if you were like, here's a left hook. It's coming right now. And then you're like, I blocked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, I haven't done it in a long time, but in the dead of winter, it's
I can't get into any of that stuff because I know it'll consume my life or something.
It can.
I mean, any of that kind of stuff, like Fortnite or whatever people were talking about. I can't, man. I don't even want to even look at it. I don't want to see it. I want nothing to do with it.
It's the iRacing's just like real life. If you put a lot of time in it, you can be good.
Yeah.
If you don't, it shows. And I was never any good. I've won a couple here and there, but
he's not. He's really not. He's not lying. There's not much overlap, but I will say, like the racecraft, hey, I'm going to run this line to block. Like a lot of that racecraft does follow, carry over.
Well,
it's kind of fun decision making and stuff like that.
I was having a big conversation with Sam the other night about, all his kids, they all have Sims, like big, awesome Sims. They don't use them as much. And, he's like, I need to get them to do that. And I'm like, hey, I don't believe in all that video game stuff and everything, but all these kids I see that are doing good and doing things, I mean, they log hundreds of laps on them, and there's got to be some way, and even like, you know, the CB industry type cars and all that different stuff. Those kids, that Ballard kid is the one I'm kind of really talking about. That kid is full suit, full, and does hundreds of laps, and he's going places. Yeah. And he figures stuff out. And I mean, all these other kids that are doing it. And so that kind of stuff has to at least kind of come into the racing world a little bit, or all these people that are trying to do this for a living will be doing it.
Yeah, it translates a lot. You know, I've heard guys say, like, the Chili Bowl especially, you know, you get your braking points and, you know, how you corner entry, things like that is a huge.
And I bet you if you have a real big, you know, I mean, I'm talking a big setup deal like some of these kids have. Yeah. I mean, I bet you that is even more real.
Oh, I'm sure.
Realistic.
Yeah, I mean, just sitting in my office chair, I don't know how much overlap there is.
Yeah.
But I will say it's hard to replicate that, you know, making decisions.
Oh,
you know, when your heart's beating fast and you've got some quick decisions to make, like I do feel like you kind of can replicate some of those.
I think the big replication maybe where you come into the corner with your just wheel and just stuff like that. But as far as, you know, also on that game, you're not seeing that dude right here that you can high five, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a little different. And it doesn't matter. You can take a chance because there's a reset button.
Oh, well, there you go.
You know, in real life, there's not.
Well, you would probably be, if I had a couple more mini sprints again and you jumped in it like you did that one time, you might be even better this time.
Boy, you know what? I was going to bring that up. You know, Chasten, he was there for my mini sprint
debut.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's rode me hard. Him and his dad.
Well, I mean, we had time to go concession stand between his laps. You know,
that's what I had 3 cars and Shershkin drove the other one. And I talked to Shershkin and I said, "Hey, did you see something out there?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Me too." Every 2 laps, I seen him.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I was out of my element.
It was experience.
You know what? That was absolutely brutal. I'm not gonna lie. Year later, I went out to Doe Run in Jathan Cruz's mini stock. That's more my speed.
Yeah.
Me and Jathan turned the exact same lap time, so I think I could.
Nobody was there to experience.
Yeah. I could compete in a mini stock. Micro, no.
And that was a Farmington too, so I have to give you a little bit of.
Yeah, it was. Man, it was. That was not my cup of tea. I remember. What was the guy from St. John or not Potosi that has the
Nixon?
Nixon. Brandon Nixon come up to me. He's like, "You know what you're doing this for hot laps?" I'm like, "I ain't got a freaking clue." He's like, "Do you need some?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm so nervous. I don't know how to drive. I'm a drag racer. All I know how to do is go straight." And he's like, "Oh boy."
Yeah. He was over there getting ready to get in the car, and we had like 7 of us spitting in the seat so he could lube himself into it.
It was bad. But you know what? It was fun.
It was pretty cool. I'll tell you what, the coolest part was when we were all 3 together and had pictures of it and everything. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah. I think Sloan still got that hanging in his office.
Does he?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, because there were Doc Sloan's.
Yeah.
When I was running around with him, and I did all the cars like that.
They're actually in his.
I got the little one.
The hospital now, but he's got the big one in his office still.
That's badass.
Yeah. So, anything else you want to cover, Chasten? I know we kind of cutting you short here, but we don't want to blab too long with everybody. But
no, that's about it. Obviously, like Kasey said, a lot of good memories, good stories from being around the track and, you know, running around as a kid, you know, with the sprint cars. And then
I just can't believe it's your last year in a modified and you're going sprint car racing. Well, that's just crazy.
I don't think that's the case, especially if I keep winning, you know. So, winning is pretty fun.
So I got an idea this year. Let's the last point night, you and Kasey swap cars.
Point night?
Well, let's go out. I guarantee he'd go out and
let's make sure the points are done. And,
okay. I think you should do it like first night. That way the points ain't really into play yet.
We're going to need a little bit bigger seat for sure if I'm going to be in this car,
you know, we got a week, you know. I mean, we can, if you guys got the points wrapped up last night, let's switch rides.
See, I'm not saying no yet, but
I think there's a whole bunch of people who need to be jumping in the sprint car, you know.
So, all right. Well, we'll work on that.
Yeah, that sounds good. Like I said, never say never, but I mean, obviously that's my first love with sprint cars. And, you know, if I'm watching something, I want to watch sprint cars. I'm not going to lie. You know, but I do love racing modifieds. There's something about, you guys mentioned a couple times, like they're a hard car to drive. Like you may not sit in the stands and realize how hard they are to drive, but you know, you've got to be, your inputs have got to be just
the decision making is insane.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, and I as a fan, you know, I watch a lot of races. Like there's some snoozers, you know, but I know what they're doing inside the car, and I know, you know, again, the car matters probably too much nowadays, which is kind of unfortunate. So I kind of think I love about sprint cars. I don't feel like the car matters a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong, you have to have your setup dead on, but you know, Kyle Larson could get in a car and win something, right? And good guys can get in cars and win a sprint car.
Once you get a good baseline, in my opinion, in say sprint cars, micros, anything like that, once you get a good baseline, you go off that and you drive to your style of stuff. And I'm still mind blown with the modifieds, mod lights, all those things that they're like, oh no, I tweaked this just like this, and man, my car just ain't working tonight. And I'm like, holy crap, man.
Yeah, no.
You can almost accidentally block the car wrong in the other ones and just leave it to the floor and it'll be okay.
Yeah, they are tricky, but when you hit one right, like, and you've got a car, like, I feel like within the half lap of starting a feature, I know like if we're gonna have a good car or not. I've just kind of got that comfort level with the car now, and when you have a good car, there's not many better feelings than a modified, just knowing you have a good car and that, hey, it's up to me to hit those marks and kind of make those decisions. And
the things that makes the modified great, in my opinion, is when the left rear sucks up under the car.
Yeah,
that's my favorite part of the and Cody Thornhill's 16-foot left front that goes up, and people go and Rusty said he passed him underneath his front left or whatever.
Well, when people ask my driving style, I say it's the exact opposite of Cody Thornhill.
Right?
I like Cody a lot. He's such a good dude. I mean, anytime I see him, he's he's been super nice. I mean, he told me one night in pits, he's like, dude, if anybody gives you a problem, he said, you let me know. He said, I'm going to take care of him for you. I was like, I don't even know the guy, I just met him at the track, and that's how good, he's a good dude. Like, he's a good dude. But yeah, when I'm out there in track with him, I'm like, this guy is just
crazy.
Insane. He's insane. And I, as a fan, like, yeah, 10 times out of 10, would you rather watch him over me? Like, I get that, but I'm just, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
He came to Farmington, I think, the week before Rusty won, and I went out there and we just sat in the stands, and because I just live across the street, and we sat in the stands, and I was like, it was a pretty good race or whatever. And they're like, hey, you want to come back next week? And usually I'm like, I ain't gonna go. We're gonna go somewhere else. But I was like, he's coming back, I heard. So yeah, we're gonna go, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, he is fun to watch. One night we broke, and we grenaded the bottom of the car broke a drive shaft, and we were done. So we were spectators that night, and I watched him put on a freaking show, and I'm like, that's awesome. But also on the other hand, like, I'm not doing all that work next year. It just shows sometimes he gets to the track and he breaks something from a couple weeks before because he was, Evel Knievel.
And didn't even know. He probably had no clue.
He's got one coming, though. He's got a win coming.
He does.
He's fun to watch. And
he did, unfortunately, he did say, he is coming to Farmington more this year.
Well, hey, like I said, I don't mind racing with him. I just know when he's got his left front about 8 foot in the air, I'm gonna keep a wide berth.
Yeah.
So no, he's fun to race with. But
I don't think he drives dirty or nothing. I just think his car looks so crazy. It makes him look like he's some kamikaze guy out there.
For sure. Yeah, he's definitely not dirty by any means. He just and like I said, we were literally the exact opposite driving.
Well, he's not dirty until you look at his Facebook.
We keep talking about this. We got to get him on.
I know.
Yeah, there's a couple characters.
I went back and looked at some of that stuff. Yeah. It was pretty jacked up.
Yeah,
it's pretty messed up.
All right,
go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Say what I was going to say.
That's one of the things that kind of has been the cool things about racing, though. Like you're talking about, Kasey talks a lot about people that we've grew up watching, and his dad. Like, I grew up watching, Brent Thompson and Billy Smith, and Tommy Worley in sprint cars, and Tim, and some of the cool things have been when I very first started my first feature. We won in 2018, and it was with all those guys that I grew up watching, and like that stuff is really. It's probably been one of the coolest things. Or like, one night Tommy Worley, didn't even know he watched modified, and we won a feature one night, and he came down and got out of his car and came talk to me. He said, you've got what it takes to run a sprint car. He said, just something like that coming from him, or, even, some of the guys I grew up watching, saying, hey, we enjoyed racing with you even from the start. It was kind of, that's kind of neat because I was that kid, in the stands watching those guys, and, was out there racing with them. It was pretty neat. My, never forget my first night was in an A-Mod, was a Queens Royal. We bought an A-Mod engine and put it in for the last race of the year. And we got time to tell the story.
Yeah, go ahead.
And we put the A-Mod engine in, and it was nothing special. It wasn't anything special. I'd never even been in A-Mod. So we ran the whole year in B-Mod, and I went out there and won the heat race the very first night. And there was 35 cars or something. It was a big show. So went out there for the feature, and I'm starting between, I was a little bit, starstruck. I know it's just local racers, but I'm racing against guys, Jeremy Greenwald was there, Brent was there. I don't know if Billy was there, if he was still racing at that point, but I'm racing guys that Tommy Worley Sr. was in the field. I mean, guys that I grew up watching, and we went out there and started the front row, and the carburetor wouldn't let me fire off. I was starting like 3,000 RPMs, and I had to make a decision, kind of like Kasey talked about at DeCoin, where I was like, I got to make a decision here. I'm gonna wad up the entire field if I get on the gas and it doesn't go. And so I ended up going to the back. I actually made a decision to go to the back, and I drove back to the front. I think we passed I think we got like 7th or 8th from the back. And I came in the first A-mod race. I was over the moon.
Oh, yeah.
And my dad, and of course my sister's never afraid to, speak her mind. They come up and they're like, "Are you scared? Why'd you go to the back?" Like, they were really disappointed in me, and I was, of course, on top of the moon, just past all these guys and went back to the front, and they were mad because I went to the back to start with. So I remember that being we argued about that a little bit. Obviously, it's a good memory now, but I remember us arguing about that, and but that's common, right? We all disagree, and I always tell people, if you. When we're not having a good night, when my dad doesn't wax the car before the feature. Right? So if we go out there and there's mud on the car, that something's went wrong throughout the night. Either we're not getting along, or he's not very confident in what I'm going to do tonight. Because I can tell when he thinks we're doing good, and when our car's fast, he's waxing on that thing. He's going to finish up stuff, and he's waxing on the thing until we go out to the car, till we go out to the track. He's going to have it looking perfect. But if he's mad at me, or if he doesn't think we're going to do well, I know without him even talking, because the car is going to be dirty. So from the heat race, so.
I remember he's done that stuff, because I remember back when he helped Keith. If Keith was starting on the front row, your dad get the tire shine out, armor all the tires.
Yeah, I remember one time Tom told him, "Vern, you think you're getting tire shine on the treads?" He said, you put an awful lot on there. And I remember kind of my dad's like, "Man, I don't," he's like, "I'm putting a lot of work in here." I remember that. I was young. He was asking me if he was getting the tire shine on the treads, because he would. My dad, him and Tom are a lot alike. They want, they're just meticulous. I know, like, working with my dad, like, if I'm going to do something, he's going to be looking at it, or he's going to be checking it. So we got a pretty good system where, it's fun to work with. But I always tell people, if a car comes out dirty for the feature, just be watching, because you probably don't know what to expect. So.
All right, let's go ahead and end it on that, Chasten. Thanks for coming on, and good luck this season, and we'll see you out Farmington, and who knows, maybe some other places.
Yeah, thanks for having us. I enjoy this. I enjoy listening to it, and I think it's pretty cool what you guys are doing. So
thanks, man. We appreciate you coming.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.